Last week, Senator Kamala Harris finally made it official.
I am running for president of the United States.
Well, this woman was flaunting her relationship with Willie Brown, former mayor of San Francisco. You know, old Sweet Willie. Sweet Willie Brown. Sweet Willie. Sweet Willie Brown. And they were hanging out in the restaurants and out there on the wharf, you know, and Willie Brown is married. They were in public while she was a district attorney. Here she was, an adulterer, going with this man, you know, and all over you pick up the daily, the British newspapers. I mean, they covered it. Many of the people in the Frisco area didn't cover it. In America, they didn't bring it up against her either. But no, this woman was flaunting her relationship with Sweet Willie Brown, and they were getting it on. So she did date a black man, because Willie's about as black as you can get. That guy's black as about 2 months cold. An anthrax. But here, Brown had her nose open. Now, y'all don't know that term. Y'all don't know that. But no, I think Willie Brown, I think she was really kind of going for Willie Brown. She was hanging on to him. He trying to get, I think he dumped her, Willie Brown. Y'all know Sweet Willie? That's Sweet Willie. Look at the two of them. Woo, no. Look at that. No, I think Willie Brown had her nose open. I think she really liked him. You know, and now she ends up, after dating Willie Brown, after dating Sweet Willie, she marries this Jewish guy. I just don't know Jewish men to be great lovers. Now, you know, listen, again, I'm not against Jewish food. You know, no, this sums up with that Camelback Black Harris, and Joe Biden better watch himself. I can tell you that right now.
We're not interested so much in the salacious part of their personal relationship as the fact that this created a political alliance for Kamala Harris that would change California politics. Kamala Harris was relatively unknown. She was an attorney, but with Willie Brown's help, she would climb the rungs of power in San Francisco and California, which led her to the point where she is today. But what's important in this election is that Willie Brown helped Kamala Harris beat Terrence Hallinan as a prosecutor. Well, why are we interested in this? We're interested in this simply because when Kamala Harris beat Terrence Hallinan, she dropped a number of very important corruption cases that her predecessor was prosecuting, and those corruption cases just happened to involve Willie Brown's friends. Who benefited from the decision she made? The people that were putting money into her campaign, the people that donated to her campaign, and the people that helped to get her elected. So Kamala Harris wins in 2003 and early 2004 in this election. Her predecessor had taken a pretty aggressive position against sexual abuse of children, and that's an important position to take. I think we'd all agree to that. During his tenure, what he had done was a couple of things. First of all, he had told the archdiocese to turn over records relating to complaints against priests going back 50 years. At a minimum, he wanted to release records that concerned this types of abuse, but he was also looking for opportunities to actually prosecute the perpetrators. Well, along comes Kamala Harris to take his place. What does she do? Those documents were put under seal by Kamala Harris, never to be released to the public at all. It was a stunning reversal for somebody like Kamala Harris, who claimed that she felt that transparency and accountability in these kinds of sexual crimes was important. The second thing that Kamala Harris did was equally stunning. And that is, during her 8-year tenure as the San Francisco district attorney, she did not prosecute one single case of priest-child abuse.
Her participation in going after clergy or predators of the Catholic Church or bishops who had enabled these people was less than zero. I would like her to produce one clergy abuser or one bishop that she's even tried to prosecute.
Now, what kind of an outlier is that? If you look at 50 of the largest cities in the United States, you find that all 50 of them prosecuted at least one case during this time period. The lone exception was Kamala Harris's San Francisco. When you look at the intersection of money and power as it relates to Kamala Harris, you find something very troubling. It's not the traditional story of a legislator who's trying to modify legislation to benefit their donors or benefit their friends or benefit their family. You're talking about a prosecutor who's determining who's going to jail and who's not for crimes that they may or may not have committed. And this is where it gets very troubling for Kamala Harris. As the district attorney of San Francisco, you find that Kamala Harris went very soft on Willie Brown's friends and her political supporters and threw the book at people that had no political connection to her. The same thing happened when she became California Attorney General. Let me just give you two examples of what happened there. In one particular case, there was a company called Herbalife. There were 700 to 800 complaints against this firm filed with Kamala Harris's office. That's fact number one. Fact number two, her San Diego office looked at these and felt that they were very troubling and deserved further investigation. They actually wrote a memo to Kamala Harris saying, we need to investigate this and we may even need to consider prosecuting this. Fact number three, Kamala Harris not only didn't prosecute Herbalife, she didn't actually allow them to even be investigated. Fact number four, and this is perhaps the most important one, Kamala Harris's husband's law firm, one of their biggest clients was Herbalife.
California Democrat is trying to position herself as a reformer who works tirelessly to correct the abuses of the criminal justice system. But the senator has one big problem, her long record as a law and order prosecutor. Harris's new memoir, The Truths We Hold, makes no mention of her past as an old-school drug warrior, a defender of dirty prosecutors, and a political opportunist who has made life more dangerous for sex workers. Harris doesn't apologize for her previous stances, even those she now disavows. Instead, she's decided to try and convince voters that she has always been a progressive prosecutor.
How do you reconcile your contradictory past with what you claim to support today?
I've been consistent my whole career.
Here are some of the stories that the senator is hoping you'll forget in the run-up to 2020. Harris's political rise has been propelled by a years-long, high-profile campaign against alleged sex traffickers. What she's actually done is throw women in jail for having consensual sex while trampling on the rule of law to advance her own political ambitions. Ignoring the pleas of sex workers and human rights advocates for over a decade, she's fought against campaigns to decriminalize consensual adult prostitution in California. As Attorney General, she created a statewide program to get truckers to report suspected sex workers to police. These policies didn't stop traffickers, but they did land plenty of sex workers behind bars.
One of the greatest offenders is Backpage.com.
Harris fought to destroy Backpage.com, a classified site that sex workers use to find and screen their clients, even though she publicly admitted that the site's founders, Michael Lacey and James Larkin, were protected from prosecution under federal free speech laws.
But tonight, a groundbreaking arrest.
But a month before Election Day in her Senate race, Harris went ahead and had them arrested anyway, parading them before the cameras on pimping charges, which were then promptly dismissed by a judge. When Harris got to Congress, she kept up her crusade, becoming a big proponent of the 2018 law known as Sesta Fasta.
One cannot cowardly sit behind a computer committing their crime. Quite the contrary.
The result was that many sex workers had no choice but to return to the streets, where soliciting clients is considerably more dangerous.
It's because you don't know who's going to pick you up.
There's more pimps and there's more guys out here.
Meanwhile, Harris declined to intervene in a real underage sex trafficking scandal that involved dozens of police and other local authorities in the Bay Area.
America has a deep and dark history of people using the power of the prosecutor as an instrument of injustice. I knew this history well, of innocent men framed, of prosecutors hiding information that would exonerate defendants.
Yes, and during her time as California's top cop, Harris contributed to that history repeatedly by going to bat on behalf of dirty prosecutors. Her office appealed the dismissal of a case in which a prosecutor had fabricated a confession to secure a conviction and fought an appeal in a case where a prosecutor had lied to the jury during trial. In 2015, Harris tried to stop the removal of the Orange County District Attorney's Office from a murder trial after it repeatedly failed to turn over evidence to the defense. Her office even tried to keep a man in jail who had been wrongfully incarcerated for 13 years after a judge ruled that he had proven himself innocent just because the man hadn't delivered that proof quite fast enough. And as San Francisco DA, Harris hid known misconduct by a crime lab technician who admitted to deliberately tainting evidence.
Did prosecutors working under you know about the concerns about that lab,
The prosecutors
which
in
is what
my
the judge
office
alleged?
Did not know about it, at least said they did not know about it.
The debacle has since led to the dismissal of hundreds of criminal cases.
Never in a million years I would have thought that they were going to charge me for Sells' murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged.
Arrested and charged. That's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed up at the two most pivotal times in this first trial, and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, a celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like.
In the $13.1 million is a massive settlement. Did you feel like that was enough?
There's not an amount that could get back those 7 years.
Something else it's past time we get done is dismantling the failed war on drugs, starting with legalizing marijuana.
Your opponent, Ron Gold, has said that he is for the legalization of marijuana recreationally. Your thoughts on that?
That he's entitled to his opinion.
Harris is a former drug warrior who is now refashioning herself as pro-legalization. That's a positive shift, but not a reason to rewrite the past or ignore the patterns it reveals in her judgment. For years after the cultural tide had turned in favor of criminal justice reforms, Harris continued to support lock-em-up policies that disproportionately hurt minorities. As California Attorney General, Harris opposed marijuana legalization as late as 2014, promoted civil asset forfeiture without a conviction as a way to fight drug rings, and sought to more aggressively police prescription drug use. In her new book, Harris reveals that her drug warrior mentality hasn't changed. It's just that her emphasis has shifted.
We also need to reinstate the DEA's authority to go after the major pharmaceutical manufacturers and distributors, and we need to invest resources in law enforcement efforts to cut off the supply of fentanyl from China.
Let's believe in a more perfect union without mass incarceration of African American men.
We put more people in prison than any country on earth for no good reason.
Yes, we do. And once these people were in prison, Harris saw to it that they'd have a hell of a time getting out.
I absolutely believe there should be severe and serious consequence for violent crime, which is why I've prosecuted those cases, and will always seek the highest sentence.
As a prosecutor in law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
Before her recent about-face, Harris chose not to endorse proposed sentencing reforms on the California ballot in 2012 and 2014, and she defended the constitutionality of cash bail until 2016. Harris's office also fought an order to reduce California's prison population after the Supreme Court determined the conditions amounted to cruel and unusual punishment. Although she later claimed to be shocked by what they had done, Harris's attorneys argued that nonviolent offenders should stay behind bars because the state needed the cheap labor they provide.
We are part of a longer story, and we are responsible for how our chapter gets written.
As she blazes her path to the White House in 2020, Kamala Harris is trying to rewrite her last chapter. But her record remains.
Our children and our grandchildren will ask at that inflection moment, where were you? And what did you do in service of your family, your neighborhood, your community, and your country?
There's a family feud on the Democrat side.
Oh, gosh. Do you remember when Kamala Harris, she had that radio interview with Breakfast Club? It was released. We talked about it. She admitted that she smoked pot when they asked her if she was pro-legalizing marijuana. She said, of course I smoked marijuana. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me? Well, her own father had a problem with that. But listen to what she said on the Breakfast Club.
They say you oppose legalizing weed.
That's not true.
I know.
and look, I joke about it, half joking. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me?
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like in
and
college,
I inhaled. I did inhale.
It's really hysterical for the former attorney general of that state to talk about doing something illegal, laughing about it, giggling about it, and trying to get some traction for it. Among the people that were upset by it, her dad, Donald Harris, from Jamaica, an economics professor at Stanford University, says this: my dear departed grandmothers, as well as my deceased parents, must be turning in their grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not with the fraudulent stereotype of pot-smoking, joy-seeking, and in pursuit of identity politics. Man, what a blast at his daughter who wants to be the next president.
No kidding. He added, and he had sent this statement to Jamaica Global Online. He said, speaking for myself and my immediate Jamaican family, we wish to categorically disassociate ourselves from this travesty.